And that is on to the other interesting one we found from the reports and the insights. And that is also astounding, which is 80% of businesses currently have an AI policy or guidelines. Now, I was surprised at that. So you can look at that two ways. Obviously, there's a big opportunity there for early adoption and businesses to be seen as more forward-thinking, to support their employees in educating them, and certainly for their customers who may well be asking questions of, well, what's AI and what isn't? What are you using? Where is my data going? So all valid questions to have. It's a massive opportunity.
Yeah.
And again, quite surprising that only 20% were. But again, our view is, that's already happened. It's still early in this whole game. It's a long-term vision for this stuff. So get involved. Now, we've also been helping our clients out with understanding how to kickstart that. And we've got downloads around the notes and the QAs and some examples of that as a template that people can get on generate.com/policy download. So if you want to go and have a look at that, feel free
to really
kickstart this conversation.
Starting point, isn't it? If you need a starting point to have a look at a framework and the sorts of things you need to be thinking about if you want to create your own policy, go and download it, and it will give you a springboard to put something together. Yeah. So. Yeah.
They're the two key things. Yeah.
All right. One other thing we were going to talk about before we wrap up was political bias in some of these models. Now, some of them have been sort of almost categorized as left-leaning and right-leaning. We've almost got a split in terms of some of the large language models, where they sit on the political spectrum. Yeah. So what's going on here?
Yeah.
What is happening?
That is interesting. Well, it's a bit of research that's been done around exactly that, from that nuance of, what's going into these things. Now, the interesting thing I've gleaned from that is, my understanding, GPT is left-leaning. Llama, Facebook or Meta, is more authoritarian, interestingly. That may be down to what's been trained on.
Yeah.
With GPT being Common Crawl, which is one of the larger kind of sets of data, and Llama being more in book corpus. So there's, and that's an older corpus of data, which may have more structured views in it. And the newer one may have more what you might call libertarian views because the data is newer. Now, it doesn't mean that's true. I don't know if it is actually the case, but it's interesting nonetheless. Now, you could also split that in any way, gender-wise or data-wise, another kind of segment. But I thought political was an interesting view because upcoming elections, US and stuff, and UK as well, of course, is coming up. So it'll be interesting to watch and see what happens over the course of the next elections.
And I wonder as well, where you've got human reinforcement learning going on with some of these models, whether clearly the biases of the people who are training the models comes into play as well. So that would be another area that might be affecting it. Who knows? Yeah. And obviously we've seen actually some of the models topping out anyway, that they're becoming less effective with more human reinforcement learning. So where do we get to there? Well, we spoke about this before, we're reaching a point where data might be topping out. We may be reaching a point where these models start to need to train themselves. But
the AGI and auto GPT world, which is where we're potentially going, but we'll see.